What does the word precedence mean in protocol? How important is precedence?
Well, precedence order is incredibly important because, again, what it does is it creates an established, I'll go back to what I stated earlier a bit, but established roadmap. Leaders know who goes first, who goes second, who goes third,
Yes.
and why. There has
And
to be a
why.
reason as to why someone is the first car to arrive, the first person to shake the president's hand, or the last. Why are they deemed the last? And so precedence order is dictated by a certain set of rules. And those rules can be established either within the general understanding of protocol around the world. Usually that is in accordance with when that leader was first inaugurated. What is the date of their inauguration? There in some organizations like NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, in some instances, the G7 and the G20, in APAC, in some of the multilateral international organizations, they set their own rules of precedence,
Yes.
but those are established and they are adhered to. So it could be alpha order, alpha by the official name of that country.
Yes.
And so you would make sure that it was the United States of Mexico. So you would adhere to, instead of an M, it would be a U.
Exactly.
There are many ways in which those rules of precedence are set, but they must be adhered to time and again for them to have effect. And when they're not, is when you cause confusion and sometimes even distrust. And that's what you're trying to eliminate.
Wonderful. And I would like to mention that recent example that happened in Turkey.
Oh, well.
And that's where, again, confusion and even probably
Insult.
The EU thinking insult. Exactly. Would you explain that? What went wrong? Did they go by precedence? Were there misunderstanding? Yeah.
Yes.
Could you explain that, please, to the audience?
Absolutely. So, there are bilateral, trilateral, multilateral convenings constantly every day that occur around the world. And so at the invitation of President Erdogan, the president of the European Council and the president of the European Commission, seating is incredibly important.
Thank you for mentioning that. Yes.
Is the invited leader sits in the center, and then the president of the European Council and the president of the European Commission flank that president or prime minister, whomever it might be, and they are all seated together as one trilateral group. That is the proper seating precedence. And when there were men in those positions of both the president of the European Council and the president of the European Commission, you always saw them seated in that manner. But on this occasion, there was just 2 seats that were presented. And
was there already, what do you think? There were only 2. Was the first mistake already made there or not? Just for the audience really to understand.
So
the 2 seats,
I see. Sorry?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Well, I saw several errors on everyone's part, if you will. Primarily the hosting country. The hosting country should affirm all details with the Office of Protocol and those staff members that come in advance. You show them a diagram in advance.
Yes.
What this looks like.
In advance.
Absolutely. Well in advance. Oftentimes before they've even arrived to the country.
Yes.
And then offer an opportunity for them to see what it looks like, so that any adjustments that need to be made. I would oftentimes walk into a into a scenario, an event where in some countries it's all right for the United States flag to touch the ground. In our country, it's an offense.
Yes.
So I would have to work with them on lifting our flag off the ground so as not to cause events in that visual. Because again, what it will do is exactly what happened in this instance. It distracted everyone away from what was being said,
yes,
and only on the error.
And yes, and you could see from her body language. So talking about Ursula von der Leyen, she was like, so where am I going to wait? Where am I going to sit? And she hesitated, stood there with the hands like that, and I thought, ooh.
Awful moment, and insulting, but so in addition to the host, her staff and the president of the European Council staff should have checked out these details, should have affirmed these details in advance for their principal too. But what essentially they did was, the insult was that they demoted her to foreign minister level, and had her sitting, across from the foreign minister, leading them to some sort of understanding that they were on equal footing. In precedence order, they are absolutely not on equal footing. European Council, European Commission presidents are at the level of a chief of state and head of government, and they should have been placed in the same. Now, what I will say should have happened at that moment was that the president of the European Council should have stood up and offered his chair immediately, and the host government should have acknowledged this and brought in another chair immediately.
That's what I would have done. Just bring another chair, and not to confuse and to have everyone on that stage that lifted.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, Julie, is that in these critical moments, people are hesitant to step forward and own the error. I have to own this. Someone has to fix it.
Yes.
You can't allow or look to the principals, whether it's the CEO of a company or the mom that's leading the discussion at the PTA or the president of a country.
Yes.
You have to make sure that you have, as someone who is a part of the planning of the event, of the execution of the details, the protocol officers, that you step in at that moment and fix it immediately.
Yes.
And change that error, change that dynamic. But instead, it lingered. The error lingered in the air, surrounded, enveloped everything that was being discussed. The cameras kept looking to her to see how she was.
Exactly.
Was she angry?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It was a missed moment. Okay, so the error happens. And like I said, with my error, the error happens. What do? You own it and fix it immediately.
Immediately. Thank you.